Okay, so today we are going to be talking about an automation that I created a couple months ago. It's an AI blog generator. I've been running it for a couple of months now, and honestly, it's one of my favorites. It's been helping out a lot with ranking my website higher when people search for it. It has allowed me to get a lot more content out on the internet, which has helped me expose my website on search engines even more. So it's attracted more visitors to my website. I've been able to index more pages on my website, and I'm also able to put out helpful content for people to read. So let's go ahead and get into it and find out how you can use this at your business. Okay, so here it is. This is the entire workflow. We'll start off in the very beginning. We'll kind of go node by node here. So I have my two triggers here. This is the one that is used to schedule the automation. Right now I have it running about once a week. When I first set this up, I was running it about 3 times a week, if I remember correctly. The next node here is the Google Sheet. So this is actually used for providing the AI agent with additional context on topics that we have already created blogs for. So this will ensure that the AI agent isn't constantly reproducing blogs that have already been generated. You can see here that it's got a lot of data. We've done about 66 different blogs now. I then use the edit fields node so that it only outputs the topic from the previous node. I don't want to put all of that information into the AI agent because that's going to cost a lot more money. The second step here is to actually aggregate the data. If you don't do that, then this whole workflow is going to run 66 times. So if we aggregate it, it puts together all of these topics into one object, which is just called data. I then input this into the prompt in the AI agent. You can see it right here on the right-hand side. A lot of people don't know this, but you can manipulate the data a lot with the JSON and NNN. So if you use json.data.map item and then index, it'll look like this. And you can have AI help you out with this. I had AI help me out with it, and it's worked really well for me. Instead of it just being a bunch of jumbled up topics, there's now a number item next to each item on the list. So it just helps to keep it clean and organized. The rest of the prompt is on the left-hand side over here. I went through a few iterations of this until I really liked what it was producing every single time. So I recommend that you kind of follow the same formatting. You're going to want some context on your company or your business, a brand voice, some SEO and keyword strategy, the content structure. So everything is going to be output in Markdown, and I'll get into that later because my website will actually parse the Markdown and make it look really clean. You also want to set up image prompt here if you're going to be using image generation. And then I also have a guideline for social media captions. So the next part is choosing your actual LLM. So this is the model you'll choose. Right now I'm using ChatGPT 4.1. It's really cheap. It does the job well. And it's important to try to keep this fairly efficient in terms of cost, because if you're running it every day, it can get kind of expensive. I've seen it consume about 100,000 tokens plus, just based on the research that it does, which gets me to my next point is setting up a research tool for the AI agent. Now, if you're using OpenAI, you can use the built-in web search if you want. I don't really like it that much, so I use Jina AI. It's kind of like using Firecrawl or Bright Data, but this tool allows the AI agent to search the internet and do research. So you can see here that it visited a couple of different URLs to give some information to the AI agent to start creating and writing a blog. You also want to make sure that you're using a structured data output. So this will help the agent create an output that you can use when transferring these different fields into the following nodes. So you can see here that I have it set the title, description, content category, tags, keywords, so on and so forth. And it then outputs the data for each of those fields here. I also have an auditor for the content generation. This part is optional. You don't need to have an auditor, but it's just like a second pass. I want to make sure that the blogs it's generating are of high quality. So this auditor will audit the actual content. It'll reproduce the content, and it'll also check the image prompt as well. I found it to be helpful, so I included it in there. Next, it'll generate an image. So this is what it generated based off of parameters that I've given it. And I am using Gemini 3 Pro image, which is also known as Nano Banana Pro. Now this next part is, so you can use different platforms for this. I'm using ImageBB. It happens to be, I think, one of the easier platforms to create HTTP requests for. So this one, you will have to use a custom HTTP node, but it's really, really easy to set up. So in this node, you're gonna set the method to post. This is the URL for ImageBB. You can find this in their API documentation. Set up your authentication, your auth type, and then your query auth for ImageBB. Send bodies turned on, and then you're gonna select form data, NNN binary file. So NNN binary file, name will be image. So it'll always produce the file name with image.png. And then the input data comes from this field up here at the top left where it says data. That can be different sometimes, but it's almost always just data. So that's now been uploaded to the image hosting website. So we can find the URLs here, the image.jpg. And then I have a edit field node. Again, this is also optional, but I really, really recommend this just to keep things organized and make sure you're passing the right fields into your spreadsheet. So I have all the columns in my spreadsheet set up in this edit field node, and then it's all passed into the spreadsheet over here. So you can see all the columns that I input that in over here. And then we can move on to the spreadsheet, and you can see all the information that it passed on. So the status, title, description, content, author, all the information was passed on here. Now, the actual integration between the blog generation and my website, it occurs at a code level. So I had to create a script for my Google Sheet, and I can share that in the comments. But let's go ahead and take a look at it real quick. So this is the script. Again, you can have AI help you out with a lot of this. I'm not really great with Google Apps scripts, so I had AI produce this one for me. And then on my actual website, which I developed myself, that is where it interprets and manipulates all of that data so that it is cleanly produced or parsed on my website. So even though everything is output by the AI agent as a markdown format, this is how the end product looks. So you can tell that it has the automation strategy, which was the topic, my name as the author, the 7-minute read, the day it was posted, the title for the blog, and then the rest of the content here. Now you can tell that this is rich content. The formatting is nice. You have headers, you have subheaders, you have lists, you have bullet points. So it makes it a lot easier to read if your website can cleanly parse the information. And there are several libraries that you can find online that you can use to parse your markdown. This is the end product. It looks really nice. Like I said, this has been a huge time saver for me. I don't have to write any of my own blog articles. I've known people in the past to hire content or copyright writers to create this kind of content for them. Now you don't have to pay someone an insane amount of money to produce content for you. And you also have control over what is being output, and you can customize it however you want. And you can cater it towards any industry or any business. So in my case, it's AI and automation for Tampa, Florida. So I have this targeted specifically for my locale here in Tampa to increase my local SEO ranking. So I think now I have a total of like 60 to 70 pages indexed by Google, rather than just having the 8 or 9 that I previously had when I didn't have a blog page set up. So it's also important that you make sure that Google is indexing this. You can verify that these pages are being indexed by using Google Search Console. And you can also do it by putting your URL after the semicolon, just like this. So if I go back here, let's try to find an older one that I know is currently indexed. You can go like this and then just copy paste it here and it should pop up. So here it is. This is a really quick way of finding out whether or not it's indexed. So I can click on it right here and it'll take me straight to my blog. But Google Search Console is a little easier. Plus, if there are any issues, which you're bound to run into, you can try to find out what errors are occurring in the Google Search Console. That's pretty much everything. Like I said, this is one of my personal favorites, and I've created a lot of automations. This one has probably been my biggest time saver and has saved me from having to hire someone else to write content for me. It produces really, really good content. It just works. So I've really enjoyed using it. I really enjoyed creating it. And if you guys like this video, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you have any questions for me, feel free to leave me a comment, and I will see you guys on the next video.